Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canes on Deck. I'm Vish. Jazz is not with us tonight. Hoping he might make an appearance later, but if not, I will be flying solo here. So while y'all pile in and feel free to put any comments in the chat, topics you want to talk about, I will read an ad for our sponsor, You Break Will Fix. Have you ever run over a pothole and it makes your steering wheel shake? Are you constantly losing air in your tires? It could be a problem with your wheels and not your tires. And if it's a problem with your wheels, U-Brake Wheel Fix is your solution. U-Brake Wheel Fix is Miami's premier wheel repair and restoration company. They have 20 years of experience. They're located locally in North Miami. They'll do quick repairs on your damaged wheels, return the car to you immediately. If they can't do that and it's going to take longer, they will give you a free loaner so that way you're not stranded there. You know, Miami's very much a car city. And if your wheels are looking weathered, worn down, you're thinking about, I got to replace these things. Don't replace them, refinish them. U-Brake Wheel Fix does in-house powder coating, machining, and polishing. Make your wheels look new. So contact Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 and follow them on all socials at U-Brake Wheel Fix. If you mention 5 reasons, you'll get 5.5% off your next repair. That's U-Brake Wheel Fix powder coating and wheel repair. 305-748-0112. And the address is 1848 Northeast 143rd Street in North Miami, Florida, 33181. That's U-Brake Wheel Fix powder coating and wheel repair. Oof, we got comments going. I'm assuming my guy CCH is there. Expected to go 3-6, went 2-7. We need torpedo hats. Need to bring back the juice like the old days. Jazz hit the transfer portal was. Jazz is not in the portal. I can assure you, we've had robust discussions over the weekend. He is still bought in on this. He's just, I benched him for this game. I didn't like his performance last week. And, unlike some other coaches, I am rewarding performance of playing time. So Jazz is not playing this week. I mean, let's. I'm not touching the juice in comments, but just to recap, and CCH said we're sitting here at 2-7 in conference, but I think we have to talk about it. So last week was a 1-4 week, and it opened with, in my estimation, probably the one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a Canes baseball team against Stetson. That was. I mean, I don't even know what that was. I mean, that was the dam breaking. That was an atrocious effort, focus at the plate, on the mound, in the field. I mean, it's hard to describe how bad that was. I mean, this is just, worst game CC's ever seen. Cheeks is being kind, John, to be honest. Yeah, no, this was worse than last year's Bethune game, because last year's Bethune game was walks, right? The pitchers couldn't find the zone. This was just, I mean, I don't know why we're trying no look passes to first base. Like, there's not a defense that you have to look off. So I don't know what that was. It was bad, and I think that kind of set the tone for the week. Obviously, then lost 2 or 3 to Carolina, where they had I believe they had 1 ball leave the infield in like a 7-run inning. It was errors. It was inability to field bunts and make the throw to first. And one of the things I noticed, I'm glad you pointed this out. I think one of the things I noticed is they kept trying to check the runners at second and third, and then softly throw it over the first, and it took too long. Just fired in there and get the out. A lot of fundamentals lacking. It feels like they've been coached to check the lead runners, then go to first, and you got to just go through that process a lot more quickly. As John, as you said, just very slow, methodical, and some atrocious errors in that game, and that led into the weekend, which more of the same. I guess we'll start with the positives. The pitching was outstanding. 3 earned runs across 3 games over the weekend. You somehow lose 2 of them because you give up 5 unearned runs. That's a good way to lose a road ACC series is to give up 5 unearned runs over the course of a series. But the pitching was excellent. The hitting was terrible. Came out there with 1 win. Really, across the weekend, probably the better team, and it's unfortunate that the Canes lose a series that they really need to win and could have won. I don't know what to. I feel like he did shuffle some of the lineups. One player notably is not getting shuffled. which is again hard to explain. That the second baseman, I'll just say, has made a lot of errors and is not swinging the bat well, and seems to be the only player immune from some kind of retribution. 2-32 in ACC play, the number that CCH pulled up, which is usually spot on with that kind of stuff. And then he's not been great in the field, and everyone else has been, Cuvée got moved to first after, frankly, a lackadaisical performance at third against Stetson. They kind of had enough. They moved him to first. Then he got moved around. We've seen Degati in there. We saw Puig in there. Ogden's been moved around the infield. So, there's been some changes there. Tanner Smith got benched for Tavares. So they are mixing some things up. In the last game, we saw Galvin go to the bench. And yeah, I don't know why Dorian's I mean, this is the obvious explanation for why Dorian would be untouchable. Yeah, I mean, the Hudson stuff is strange because I get why he was struggling early. I get why they benched him initially, but and I get why now that Cuvée is at first, like that position's kind of locked down. But I don't understand why Renzo's ahead of him in the pecking order, because Renzo has not played better than him. So just there's a lot of weird situations going on here. I will say the most bizarre coaching move of the weekend was the Marsh in the ninth inning. It ended up not costing us, but the ninth inning of the last game, 1-1 count to Marsh, and UNC pulls their pitcher. They had a righty and they go to a lefty. So this is beyond explanation. So this is where JD, I think, gets into trouble a little bit when he tries to overmanage. So you still have one of your best hitters up, which is Marsh. And he goes to Gabby Gutierrez, who's batting a little bit over 100 on the year. Struggled at the plate, but he wanted a righty-lefty matchup after UNC went to a lefty, instead of, because he's like, oh, they're making that move, I'm going to counter that move. Instead, just leave it alone. Let your good hitter hit. And here's where it goes from like, okay, bizarre, don't take one of your best hitters out of the lineup, to just outright stupid. There was no communication on our team, so no one tells Gabby. It's a 1-1 count when he starts his at-bat, because those two pitches against Marsh obviously count. So he sits there and bunts foul for strike three because he thought it was only one strike. I mean, come on. This is like stuff that you do better in Little League. He obviously wasn't paying attention to March's at-bat. Didn't think he was about to be at the plate, and then he did not know that the count was 1-1. Bunted, he took a pitch for strike two, and then bunted foul for strike three, and kind of stood there and was like, nope, you're out, buddy. You struck out. So I don't understand the move, and then obviously the lack of communication there to alert him to like, hey, you can't bunt. There's two strikes. Again, it ended up not costing us. However, we did have a runner on third with less than 2 outs, so a fly ball there would have scored a run. As CCH said, March hit 300 against lefties last year. We don't really have strong right-handed options on the bench or really in the lineup, other than Derek Williams. And Derek Williams is having an outstanding season, by the way. Shout out to him. He's been the best player on this team for a long stretch now. But all you needed was Marsh to elevate a ball into the outfield. So I don't understand why you're pinch hitting there. Just let him hit a fly ball, and the run scores from third. Again, got away with that one. You don't always get away with stuff like that, which is why the game's record is what it is. In terms of Hudson, yeah, it's bizarre that he's completely, disappeared. I don't believe he's hurt. He was on the on-deck circle in the last game against Florida State to pinch hit, which was obviously a week ago. And then we got out before he could come up. So I think he's still healthy. He's out there in warm-ups and stuff. He looks fine from a health standpoint. I don't know, for whatever reason, Renzo passed him on the depth chart, and so when we were doing righty lefty with Ogden at first and against lefties, and Renzo at first against righties, I mean that was Hudson's spot. Gone. Now it's even more crowded there with Cuvée at first. I mean that spot's just gone entirely. So I don't know. I mean, even on the topic of Dorian, though, yeah, I would say this is accurate at this point. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, Tanner Smith leads the team in errors, and so that's not a good stat for your catcher. Dorian's up there too, by the way. Um, and so yeah, it's been tough. I will say the Kansas lack quality infielders right now. A lot of young guys that aren't really ready at the plate yet, and so now they're trying Puig, um, and they're trying that, but we'll see if that plays off. I think, yeah, no, Smith has really struggled. I think Tavares is the long term solution, but he's just these young guys. It's hard for them to just plug and play there, and so you'd like to try someone else at second base. We don't really have a lot of good options. DeGaudy has had a lot of opportunities at short, hasn't really swung the bat well. We tried Puig in the last game. We'll see if that'll stick with it. But other than that, like, it's hard. We don't have a lot of options because Cuvée is gonna be one of them. Ogden's gonna be another one, and then the other two have not performed regardless of who we put in there. So I think Tavares is the catcher now. I think that changed over this weekend. So I think he will be the primary catcher, which means Smith might catch the midweek, which is fine, obviously. But I think Tavares is the catcher. But the concern is, as much as Cuvée has struggled, and he had a horrible game, especially Saturday, where he struck out 4 times, I believe. But that outside of that, like, he's obviously going to play, and he needs to play. And his numbers overall are still good. And then Ogden's obviously going to play, and he needs to play. The other 2 infield spots are just really, everyone they've put in there has not performed. So that's a struggle. We'll see. I think Mikey Torres is going to get. I think we're going to continue to see this Torres in center field and Peralta in left field, and definitely Derek Williams in right field going forward. Yeah, Jazz and I've actually talked about this a bit on the side. Like, how come Nick Johnson doesn't play more? Don't know. There's a lot of questions here. Yeah, I mean, Smith came in as a defensive guy. He has not been good. Like I say, leads the team in errors. Struggled to throw people out second base. So I think Tavares has probably passed him at this point. In terms of Nick Robert, yeah, I mean he came in against Stetson, and then he again pitched this weekend. He struggled this weekend. They got out of that inning without a lot of runs because Giroux, who has come on really strong here, bailed him out. But yeah, the way the pitchers have been handled doesn't make sense either. Looking at the midweek, as Danny asked, I think it's going to still be Lumpkin. That's my guess. I think they want Darius and Mikey on the weekends as available arms out of the bullpen. Jackson Cleveland's another option. He didn't pitch at all this weekend. I wouldn't mind seeing him start in the midweek. The only reason I wouldn't start Darius or Mikey is I think they pitched really well out of the bullpen, and you need them on the weekend. So someone that you haven't been using like Jackson as much as you should be, Frank, like Jackson Cleveland, whose ERA is actually pretty good. He's kind of given up one bad over out all year, and it's just sitting on the bench. It's kind of weird. I'd like to see him get a role. So I would like to see Jackson maybe start the midweek game if you're not going with Reese. But I think you want to continue Darius and Mikey out of the bullpen here. I think Walters is definitely still the Saturday starter. He had a good start this week. If you recall, it was 4 unearned runs he got out of that inning. Who knows how much further in the game he would have gotten, but he got an easy ground ball back to a short, little easy flip to second to end the inning, except we dropped the ball at second base. So instead of that, it was a 4-run rally. And that was the second inning in a row where we extended it with an error. And he got out of it the previous inning, didn't get out of it this time, and the floodgates open. And that's what happens. We keep making those mistakes. So I would be shocked if Walters gets moved out of the lineup. I don't know what Robert's role is. They announced him as the closer, and they brought him in the 5th inning on Sunday, and he got hit pretty bad and didn't even make it through an inning. I don't know. I guess Will Smith is still the closer. I honestly like the way the pitchers have been handled has been bizarre, and that is reflected in kind of everything there. There's been no consistency. We've seen. I mean, the fact that like Carson Fisher has been hit very hard every time he pitches, and he's pitched more innings than Jackson Cleveland is kind of ridiculous at this point. So I do think maybe starting Jackson midweek and getting him if he can solidify that because good transition, John. So yes, how bad does the record need to be for JD to be another to feel some heat? I can't do another year of this. Yeah, and as CCH says, they're feeling the heat. I mean, I don't. I don't. So let me answer Danny's question real quick. So he did on Sunday. He got left out of the lineup. And then he did pinch hit later in the game, so he didn't completely not play. But obviously Marsh is the DH. So if it's going to be Peralta and Torres, and yeah, I think Galvin gets kind of left out right now for now. Now, I will say Torres had a good game on Sunday. He has struggled overall this year. So I don't know if he's going to hold that spot down the rest of the year, just to be honest. I mean, he'd have to show some consistency. He hasn't shown. Please do not include me in tweets and tag Rudy and Dan. Because we cover the team and we have business relationships with these people, and so saying fire the coach, these bleep and tagging me in it with them is not good. But anyway, so I don't think Galvin will ultimately. He won't get Hudson left out where he doesn't play at all, but he got left out of the lineup on Sunday, and I wouldn't be surprised if he, doesn't play every game. Oh man, they love to include all of us in there, and I'm like, that's not good for business. In terms of feeling the heat, I will say that game on Wednesday against Stetson, that was a different kind of backlash, and I think that's what CCH is talking about. That was just, I mean, I had, without going into detail, people reaching out to me that I never really talked to that are like, I can't do this anymore. This is from boosters. I won't name names, obviously. Just like, I've never seen anything like this. I think that was kind of a tipping point because you got to understand, in addition to this being, the flagship program on campus in terms of consistency, and last year being the worst year in 50 years since the 1950s, I believe, actually, it's more like 70 years. This was a program that was top 10 when he took it over. So it wasn't supposed to do that. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was not supposed to be a rebuild like this. And so the fact that we're sitting here, barely over 500 a year after going under 500 for the first time since the 50s, I mean, this is way out of pocket. Again, number 9 in the country, Gino Damari's last year. To go to this is pretty appalling. So I think he's feeling the heat. Yeah, actually, let's look. We're gonna look at this here. Look, you guys are like, my co-host didn't show up, but you guys all showed up and are just leading me to the next topics. So I'm gonna look at the schedule in a second here. Yeah, so they're actually named after the Hats, John. Stetson's your dad's cologne. Didn't know they had a team. They lost them. They're the Hats, the Hatters. So this guy who started Stetson Hats also founded that school. So we are 2-7 in conference. CCH, I would also add, I think we gotta win some of these midweeks. We can't keep leaking these games. We're gonna finish under 500 if we do. But here is the remaining schedule as we kind of look at it here. So we got FIU, and then on Wednesday. Again, these are games you got to win, these midweek ones, because I guess we should start with overall record is 2-7 in conference, which CCH talked about. 15-14 overall. Like, you got to get some wins here because just winning series is not going to be enough. You got to win these midweeks too. So FIU at the Light, got to win that. I'd like to see Jackson Cleveland start that game, frankly, if you're not going to use them on the weekend for whatever freaking reason, because his stuff looked good and he shut down FSU in that one game he pitched it and then didn't pitch it all last week. Then he needs to start the midweek. Then you have 3 games at Pitt. Pitt is struggling; those are winnable. Then you got Bethune. Then Duke at home. Duke is also, they're okay, but they're winnable, especially at home. Then FAU at home. Then Georgia Tech is really good. That's a tough one. Then at FAU, at BC. Then NC State at home. Then FIU at Virginia is another tough one. And then Notre Dame at home. I feel like, okay, so they're sitting there at 2-7. They're sitting there at 2-7. And, realistically, CCH said 20% to make the postseason. I mean, they gotta somehow get this to 500. I feel like they almost have to win there's 7 weekend series left. If they win all of those, even if it's just 2-1, that'll get them 7 games up, and that'll take them, kind of where they need to be, 16-14. Yeah, CCH said you could lose maybe one. I don't think they can lose 2 more series, CCH, because then you're talking about 7 series losses. So I think they without a quality series win. So I think they gotta beat UVA or Georgia Tech. I think the only way they're guaranteed, the way you won't be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. Well, the most likely way you won't be sweating it out on Selection Sunday is the kids are nowhere close, but the way you actually play your way off the bubble and into the tournament is they got to win every series. If they do that, you're now sitting there, worst case, 16-14 in conference. So that'll get you in out of the ACC with any kind of reasonable midweek performance, because you'll be over 500 by a few games, by several games, and you'll be in. So yeah, UConn is the one that's really bad. UCF is good. So CCH said bad losses so far. UConn, Stetson, UCF. At UCF, they're really good. Stetson is not. And then again, the way the team played, and then losing a home series to UConn is just unacceptable. So I don't think they can afford to lose another series, because if they do, it's going to be either another bad series loss, or it's going to mean that they at maximum have 1 good series win, and you got to make up for all the losses CCH called out. So I think they got to win every series. I think if they do that, they're definitely in. If they don't, then they're not. I don't think they're going to make it then if they don't win every series, because they win every series. They have a good series win against Georgia Tech, a good series win against Virginia, and they're kind of riding some momentum. But if they don't, then not only does the record come down, but why would you wait? I don't even know what you're saying here, but anyway. Oh man, the glory days where they were dropping pop-ups made life easy to score. I mean, FSU's a conference game, so we can't can them. Well, the RPI is 70 because CCC RPI is 70. That's because it also takes into account your record. So it's not, it is, if you start winning games, it'll go way up. The fact of the matter is, the Canes record is terrible, and then the fact that Florida stinks, in case anyone hasn't been paying attention to the boys up in Gainesville, they're terrible. So that series loss actually is a bad one now. UConn at home is a bad one. So, 2 bad series losses, swept by Wake Forest. That's not going to get you. It's not going to get you where you need to be. Well, yeah, again, CCH, each situation is different, but the Canes have 2 really bad series losses, and they played a home-heavy schedule. All that stuff feeds in, which is why there's ample opportunity here, because right now, you're going to Pitt next week, and then that's like a winnable road series. You do that, that'll start getting your numbers the right way. At BC later in the year is a winnable road series. So you start doing that, your numbers start to come back in line. But right now, the Canes' resume is terrible because they played terribly. But there's always opportunities in the ACC to get that up the right side, but it is a long path back to yeah, no, exactly, John. Like that's what this is. I think CCH overestimated the 20%, to be honest. I think it's more like 5 to 10%, but it's one game at a time situation. They got to take care of these midweeks against FIU, and then they got to go to Pitt and at least win 2. Sweep would be great. They got to win 2 out of 3, though. If they just go into every series saying got to win it, if they actually pull that off, they will be in. Like, you're not going to miss the tournament if you're 16 and 14 in the ACC, having won 7 series in a row, including 2 against ranked teams. That's not going to get left out. Now, have they shown any ability to do anything remotely close to that? No. I mean, I gotta say, they played well at North Carolina despite losing 2 or 3. I think if they'd thrown a couple more Stetson performances in there, I don't know that he would have made it out of the weekend. Yeah, we're in the Dumb and Dumber phase, definitely. We're all dumb and dumber for still watching this, but look, we could all be upset. JD Arteaga is a very accomplished coach, so I don't want to disparage necessarily his credentials at this point, but the results are what they are, and he's got to turn this around, right? We've got half the season left. All sorts of time to talk about that stuff, CCH. CCH is now fired JD Arteaga and started naming coaches to replace him. Plenty of time to do that. Like, at this point, they just got to go. They got to beat FIU on Wednesday, because otherwise you're back to 500. You got to stack those midweek wins, and then take care of Pitt, and then you can have a 3-1 week and be sitting there, feeling at 18 and 15, coming back home to face Duke, feeling a lot better about yourself. So that's the goal right now, is just to take care of the midweek and get 3 or 4 this week. Obviously 4 or 4 even better, but 3 or 4 will put you right back in the game here. But it's going to take a while to make up that ACC record. We talked about this actually as a problem that happened last year. Once you start getting swept and you fall behind on the ACC record, it's hard to catch up. Well, they're 2-7. So absent sweeping teams, they got to win 5 series to get back to 500. So it's not easy to do. I will be out there as well. I'm flying back to Miami tomorrow morning. I'll be out there on Wednesday. So see you out at the ballpark at CCH. But yeah, no, I mean, you got to start. It's one game at a time. You got to stack wins to boost the record overall. The midweek's a great chance to do that. Yeah, no, exactly. So that's why it's not all is lost. But they've shown no ability to consistently. CCA says I'm expecting a 4-0 week. If we sweep Pitt, we're sitting there at 5-7, which is solid. Absolutely. The problem is they've shown no ability to string that many good games together. There's been at least one game a week. Shake on Wednesday Fed too. We did a Stetson Memorial shake or something just to commemorate that performance, just like feces in a cup or something. The thing is, this team has not been consistent, and these no-show performances, Stetson, we've seen it multiple times. The first game against Florida State, I mean, what the hell was that? Right? I mean, that was, look, Florida State's a great team, but what the hell was that first game? If you fight them in that game, you actually might have won the series, right? You got to compete every day. They have not done that. The UCF game we talked about, the Connecticut game series, like, they had that over again. Like, I doubt they would lose it, but they didn't show up every game. And that's been a problem. That's been a problem for this team. And so let's see if they can show up 4 times this week. And if they do that, they can go 4-0. If they don't, if they lose the series to Pitt, forget it. You're not coming back from that. They'll have, at best, be 3-9. I mean, that's done. You got to make up ground this week. You got to show you can win on the road, and you got to make up ground, and Pitt's an opportunity to do that. So if they can't take care of business this week, then it's kind of done. Like, I don't see any way back from there. I will pull up briefly the standings so you can see what the Canes have left. They missed both California team. So that's good. But let's see. So this is where we are standings wise. This is the bottom of the standings. So the Canes, again, travel to Pitt. They still have Notre Dame at home. They have Boston College on the road. Those are winnable. They're at Virginia later in the year. That's a tougher one, but still doable. They have Duke at home. That's, at home is one you'd like to think they could go after and get. And then Georgia Tech they play as well at home. So, these are it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but they haven't shown that ability this year. So can they do it? Can they go and win these games? And can you win road games against a Pitt team that you're frankly better than? Even if their record is, they're better right now, the schedules aren't balanced. We talked about this a lot, that starting ACC play with Wake, FSU, North Carolina with 2 or 3 on the road, going to mess your record up. But now they got to come back with more energy and more effort and more consistency. As John said, that game 2 FSU performance where they're locked in from the beginning. I think the other thing, just from a tactical standpoint, the plate approach was terrible this weekend. I mean, we praised the pitching. The hitting, my God, just atrocious. Everyone and their mother swinging for the fences. Hit 1 home run the whole weekend. It was Derek Williams. Everyone else just hit nice fly balls, easy for North Carolina to catch. The ball was not traveling. I don't think North Carolina hit a home run the whole weekend either. It just wasn't carrying. And we just kept trying to hit everything out of the yard, turned into fly balls, easy outs, no adjustments made at the plate. Really frustrating in that sense as well. We got to clean that up. But again, as you start cycling through the back of the lineup, there's just a lot of low batting. The strikeouts are out of control too, as John said. It was strikeouts and flats. I think we went to the 7th inning of game 2 before having a ground out. That was a game we obviously lost, despite not allowing an earned run. That's got to change. The back of the lineup though is just weak. It is what it is at this point. It's not productive. So you're kind of going to a dead spot back there where we're not getting the production we need. I mean, I would like to say, oh yeah, put some guys in from the bench. I think that's why we talked about Todd quite a bit on this show. I don't know. Obviously, if Cuvier's at first, I mean, there's nowhere really for Todd to play because you're not taking Marsh's spot out of there on DH. Yeah, no, and I think this is a key point, the strikeouts. I mean, you're saying Tanner Smith strikes out, the whole team does. John Rodriguez talked about it too. This not making productive outs, not moving runners over is how you end up with a lot of hits without runs. You gotta do because you strike out, it kills rallies. So I don't know what to do with that. You're kind of screaming at the TV, hit the ball on the ground, and it just doesn't happen. So if we keep pitching like we did last weekend, that'll be a huge step forward, but the hitting's got to catch up with it because right now it has not. But anyway, like I said, coming up here, just a brief look ahead before we end the show. So we got FIU at the Light on Wednesday. That is at 6 p.m. We got at Pitt, 3 p.m. Friday, 3 p.m. Saturday, 1 p.m. Sunday. Huge 3-game set. Then Bethune on April 9th at the Light again, and then Duke for a weekend set. And if you got to come out of there having won those 2 weekend series and hopefully the midweeks. And if you do that, then you're in position. Yeah, I mean, this is part of the problem is we can't hit for power. The other problem is we keep swinging for power. Hit it on the ground. There's other ways to take advantage of that. Yeah. No, I mean, we need to do something, right? We need to learn how to manufacture runs, move runners over, put the ball in play, and not just pop everything up. Not bunting with 2 strikes. I don't think Gabby knew what the count was, frankly. He came in mid-count. I don't think we calmed that well, and I think he bunted that foul because he thought there was only 1 strike. I don't know why he was doing bunting with the runners on the corners and 1 out. Why would you bunt there? I don't know. Oh, and we hit fly balls. Don't forget that. Fly balls that are impossible to tag up off of. That's what we specialize in, those 3 things. Strikeouts, lack of power, and fly balls to a shallow outfield. But anyway, FIU on Wednesday. Hopefully I'll head out to the Light. Be interesting to see as was asked earlier, who's on the mound there. Danny Price asked, who's on the mound for the Canes there. I would like to see Jackson Cleveland if he's not going to pitch on the weekend, get the start there. Might see. I'd be surprised if we don't see Lumpkin out there again. I don't think we'll see Giroux. Hopefully not at all if we're going to use him as well and effectively out of the bullpen as we did on Sunday. But as that starts to solidify, I think Jackson Cleveland as the fourth starter makes more sense now. And then potentially into the weekend rotation if Walters continues to struggle. Siskar, by the way, I haven't mentioned, really good performance on Sunday as well. The pitching again was strong all weekend. Anyway, FIU on Wednesday, then they'll travel to Pitt Thursday to play Friday through Sunday at Pittsburgh. Actually, let me do a quick weather check. Is Pittsburgh this time of year? Not the most fun place to visit. Let's see what we got over the weekend here. We've got Friday, showers in the morning, and then rain Saturday and Sunday. That's not great. Highs in the 60s, lows in the 50s. Sunday, lows in the 30s. This is going to be a nightmare to get this game in. The weather's going to be miserable, and the boys got to power through it. It's going to be cold and rainy all weekend. They got to deal with it. Yeah, cold and raining, not good for us. Yeah, so you know what, TCH? This is time to ante up and kick in like men and power through that weather and go win the series, right? If you want to play in the postseason, if you want to accomplish anything, you power through those conditions and win anyway. And John, I think John hit the nail on the head here. We went 28 games and actually 29. I believe it's 15-14 the record. We know Griff is the Friday night starter. That's pretty much it. Everything else rotation-wise is make your pick. And then we know Cuvée and Ogden and Dorian and Derek and Fabio. We know 5 of the starters. The other 4, roll a dice. So not great at this point in the season. Yeah, find a way to sweep. But, I mean, you can't come out of there with a series loss and then complain it was raining and cold. Like, you got to win the series. Anyway, we'll be back next week. I think Jazz will actually join me next week, hopefully. But thanks everyone for the comments. Otherwise, this would have been a 2-minute show. Let's see if the Canes can take care of business first against FIU on Wednesday, and then go win some games in a cold, rainy Pittsburgh. Which again, hopefully nothing gets rained out, so they don't get all the games in, because the Canes need those games to be played and they need to win them. But thanks everyone for joining me as I flew solo on this one. Beat FIU on Wednesday and go from there. Go Canes.